is presented to you by Ekansh Foundation in collaboration with PS Studio and media partner Sanmarg. Ekansh is a Gen Z-led non-profit organization that aims to provide vocational education to underprivileged students. So if you are in a position where you can donate, please do visit the link in our bio. And if you're not able to donate, please feel free to volunteer your time or just spread awareness about the importance of vocational education, because that conversation will go a long, long way. Welcome to our workshop, How to Crack the CA Paper with Divya Jain, Air 6. Divya Jain has cleared all her CA exams in the first attempt and secured ranks in the intermediate and final exams. She has a keen interest in dancing and has completed Arangritam in Bharatnatyam back in 2012. She loves reading, listening to music, and meeting new people. Thank you so much for being a part of our fundraiser and helping us further our cause, Divya. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Devyani. I was so honored when I got your message on LinkedIn. I was like, this is really a great opportunity for me to contribute. Your initiative is really great, and I thank you for approaching me and making me a part of this event. So, is everybody in here, or should we wait for somebody?
So half of the people are here, and a few of them are watching it on YouTube live stream as well. So I think we're good.
Okay. So we'll start. So let me begin by introducing myself. Devyani has already done a great job of it, but I'll still just say that yes, I am a qualified chartered accountant, cleared my exams in July 21, and I have a 6th All India rank in the final exams. In the intermediate as well, I had a 30th All India rank. I am from Mumbai and I've completed my graduation from NM College. So that was about me. Now, moving on to how to crack the CA paper. I assume that most of my audience is CA finalists, and we will begin on that track. So first, I think I should answer a few basic questions that every CA student has. Firstly, they start off with when should I start studying for the CA final exams? So now what happens is there is no set limit of time that you should contribute. It takes X amount of months or Y amount of months. But what I would suggest is you back calculate from your attempt. So if your attempt is in November 23, assuming, you should ideally take up 4 months for revision and for solving papers, and another 3 months for your own self-study. So 7 months, approximately 7 months would be a good amount of time. Now you should customize it obviously according to your own speed, your grasping power, your time constraints, or any big events that you have during that period of time. And then you add on whatever number of hours of lectures or classes that you're taking, because say for example, if you've taken FR classes, it takes about 2 to 3 months to finish those off. So you should calculate it accordingly. There is no set amount of time that, oh, I should start studying 1.5 years before or something like that. You have to do it at your own speed, at your own pace. Another one is about articleship. Now, if you have your CA exams upcoming, then there's no need to answer that question. But if you are a student who's just cleared their CA intermediate examinations and are wondering about whether I should join a Big Four or not, I mean, it depends on you. I did not join a Big Four because I knew that I had certain constraints and I would not be able to focus more on what I wanted to if I were to join a Big Four. But now, if you are planning on joining a Big Four, working in a Big Four post clearing your examinations, then I think you should definitely join a Big Four for your articleship as well, because that would be a bigger boost to your future career. All right. Now there is this myth about CA final exams specifically, that it is next to impossible to clear it in the first attempt. And I'd like to clear that up, that it is not the case. I know so many students, so many of my friends and acquaintances who have all cleared all of their exams in the first attempt. So it's not impossible. You just have to know how to manage your time between your articleship, your lectures, and your studies. Is somebody saying something? Okay, great. So now, before I think we should look at it at Okay, so about classes, what I want, one more thing that I wanted to say was do not start your classes way too early, because I saw people who cleared in May, for example, with their intermediate, and they started off their classes in September or October for the final examinations, which is 2.5 or 3 years away. So that is not a good idea, because the syllabus will definitely change in the next 3 years. The way that they ask questions, the way that they need you to answer the questions, all of that is going to change. So ideally, you should wait at least for a year after your CA intermediate examinations to start off with classes. That too, you should begin with practical subjects like FR or SFM or costing, because the syllabus for these subjects is the least likely to change. This, I'm sure most of you have heard it everywhere. Now moving on to my pattern, what I did was, I'll tell you, my examination was scheduled to be held in May 2021. So I started studying like really well around, I think, November 2020. I started my classes in March 20. Just a second, just a second. Sorry. So what I did was, I started off with FR classes in March 2020, and then moved on to DT in around, I think, July or August. I had taken lectures only for two subjects, that is FR and DT. Rest of it was self-study. Okay, so moving on to paper-wise strategy. Let us go paper-wise. The first paper is FR. I took Professor Bhavik Choksi's classes for FR. He is a really great teacher, and he covers the entire syllabus, which is what a lot of professors don't do. What I've noticed over the years of my experience. So Bhavik Choksi clears up, covers the entire syllabus. His notes are really good. He tells us to write answers. He dictates his answers in a manner that we're supposed to present to ICS. So that is really helpful. He does not make us study just from charts, because at the end of the day, you have to properly write and present your answers in papers, and charts will not work for you. Apart from that, what I would suggest you guys to do in FR is solve each and every single. Okay, what is this? Okay. So Aditya, is it okay if we take questions at the end of the session? Great. So I was talking about FR, wherein I was saying, yeah, so the strategy is, you should ideally solve each and every sum that you, generally people take classes, so they have their professor's notes wherein everything has been solved. But I would suggest, don't do reading for FR. A lot of people read the sums, acha, okay, isme ye debit, ye credit. Don't do that. Solve those sums by hand on paper without looking at the solution first. Do it at least twice for each and every sum, in order for you to gain confidence. At least once you solve it the way you're supposed to present it in the paper. Because what happens for FR is that it is the first paper, and it is quite lengthy as compared to other papers. So it becomes a little difficult for you to complete it within the 3 hour time that you've been given, because already it is the first paper. We're all stressed about the exams. So first paper carries much more stress as compared to the other papers. And this happened with me as well, because I remember I started off with an 8 mark question, and for the first 20 minutes I was solving that question, and then I realized, oh, I wasted a lot of time over here. So you should write the answers the way you're going to be writing them in the papers, to get better practice. And for business consolidation and combination, all of that, those carry 20 marks. Generally, they'll be asked as a compulsory question. They will be carrying a lot of marks, and you know that you have to solve them. Those are going to be asked in the paper. So better to solve those by hand. Okay, let's see if I have missed anything in FR. Yeah, so India's most of the Indians are practical, but a lot of them are theory questions as well. They will ask you whether XYZ presentation in the financial statements is proper, whether this is supposed to be classified as current or non-current, something like that. So for that, you need to know what the Ind AS says. You have to start off writing the law of the Ind AS, that okay, Ind AS XYZ, the name of the Ind AS says that in XYZ situations you're supposed to do this, and in the next para you will relate your answer to what has been said in the law, and then you will conclude. So this is how you're supposed to write with theory questions relating to Ind AS. Okay. Another tip would be do not forget to read the Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. So this is generally given in the module, or it might be given in your reference book as well. There are a lot of pages of how you're supposed to present the financial statements for an organization, division 2, I think. So do remember to read that. It might seem like it's a lot and it doesn't really, you might feel that it does not carry marks, but sometimes they do ask it for 4 marks. They will give you the items that how is this item be supposed to be presented in the financial statement. If you've read it, it's fairly easy. There's not much work in there. Going on to SFM, we'll move on to the second paper. Any questions for FR? No? Okay, great. Okay, moving on to SFM. Now, again, I did self-study for SFM. So I don't know a lot about the professors who teach SFM, but I think Professor Bhavik Choksi does teach SFM too. And I think he's fairly good at teaching FR. So I assume he'll be good at teaching SFM as well. He covers everything from the syllabus. So for SFM, what I did was I referred Paduka. This is a reference book, and the ICI study materials, wherein and then a few YouTube lectures as well, because there were certain concepts that I did not understand and I needed someone to explain it to me. But the rest of it is fairly simple. The more you practice, the more you'll understand for SFM. Okay. And what happens in SFM is unless you are really lucky, like my batch was, they will ask you completely out of the syllabus questions. That was what happened in January 21. There were a lot of questions which I had not seen in my study materials before. So the only way to tackle these questions and to know how to present the answers to these questions is if you read and understand the concepts really well in a practical manner. Because if you understand how I'm going to be using the yield of a bond or something like that, you will understand, okay, if this is something different is asked in the paper, you will be able to at least try to solve it, and you might get a 2 or 3 marks for that. Okay. And for SFM, yes. Another thing I did, which really helped me, is that in Paduka, there are about 60 to 70 sums for each chapter, and 2 to 3 type of questions for each type of sum. Okay, so I knew that at the end of my course, when I will have during exams only 1.5 days to revise everything that is in the book, I will not be able to go through this fat book. So what I did was, it took me 2 readings to just understand all the concepts. So I did that. After that, what I started doing was I started marking the sums. I ABC'd it. So commerce students will know what ABC is. The toughest sums I used to mark as A. The easiest ones, which are purely formula based, like if you're supposed to calculate the price of a share, so those are just formula based sums. And if I know the formula, I need not even look at the sum again. So those would be marked as C. And then when I moved on to the next division, I would just solve A and B type of sums. And towards the end, when I had just 1.5 days to study the entire syllabus, I would look at just the A sums or something that I had marked in red, some important concepts. Okay. Another thing is SFM has 20 marks of theory in the paper. Right now, this is the pattern. Each question, since this is a 100-mark full written paper, there are 20 marks ke sums, wherein around 4 marks is theory, 4 or 5 marks, and the rest is practical sums. So theory is really easy. Ideally, you should study it from the module. There are a few chapters like securitization and venture capital funds and something like that. So those are really frequently asked as theory questions, very easy. You just have to know 5 or 6 points. You have to write it down, and those are really easy. I mean, out of 20, you can at least get a 10 or 15 marks. And we know we just have to score a 40 to pass. So you should do not take theory very lightly, to study it well, give enough time, so that at least this is something that is going to be asked from the book. Even if you get sums that are completely out of the syllabus, at least this is something that is going to be asked from the book. Again, what happened in our paper, we were really lucky that we had a lot of sums straight from the ICI module. Like they had just barely changed the numbers and all of that. So why I'm saying this is because I recommend 110% to go through all the modules, because there are a lot of chances that they'll ask sums directly from in there. And if you know, if you've practiced it, then it becomes really easy for you to solve. All right. So yes, I think SFM is done. ABC marking is really good for you. Then I'd also prepared this formula book, which I used to revise every week. Once every week, it took me around 30 to 45 minutes to do one revision. And then I kept on adding any new formula that I found in maybe when I was solving any MTP or RTP, something like that. So at the end, I had this proper formula book ready with me that I read 15 minutes before the exam. So that formulas are ready with me and I remember them. Okay, again for SFM, I would recommend try to solve every sum at least twice by hand. This will give you confidence. And a lot of people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? I do that too. I will type something in the calculator, and then I will mix up the numbers when I write it down on the paper. So that is very silly, and that we miss out on a lot of marks because of that. So do practice that so that you get a better grip over the numbers. All right. Moving on to papers 3 and 4. These are purely theory papers, audit and law. There is a 70-30 breakup, wherein 30 marks of MCQs and 70 marks of written paper. Now, 30 marks of MCQs does not mean that they are 30 MCQs. There are certain MCQs, if there is a case study. Sorry, Devani, did you want to say something? No? Okay, great. So generally what they do is they will give you around 2 case studies and 5 MCQs relating to that. 5, it could be 4, it could be 3. So those MCQs will carry 2 marks each, and there will be rest carrying 1 mark or 2 marks each. So there is not going to be 30 MCQs. Now, this great tip I took from the YouTube lectures of Shubham Keswani. He got an All India rank 8 in a previous attempt. And so what he did and what I did while solving these MCQ types of papers is first, so you're supposed to write down 5 answers carrying 40 marks each, and then there's an MCQ separate assessment. So what I did was try to write down, do not even look at the MCQ paper when you get it. Try to write down the best questions that you know best. The first 3 ones you write down in the paper. Try to finish that in 1.5 hours. Then give another 30 to 45 minutes for the MCQs. Focus solely on that. And then after you finish that, you have around 1 hour or 45 minutes, and that you can devote to the other 2 answers that you don't know really well. In any paper, there's going to be something you're not good, very, very good at. So start off with something you're very good at, so that you make a good impression on the examiner, and move on at the end. Keep it at the end for questions that you don't really know. You're going to just go it anyway. So keep it at the end. Don't start thinking about it in the middle of the paper. So that was about how you're supposed to, even for the 100-mark written papers, start off with questions. Start with the best 3 questions that you know the best. 1.5 hour about or 2 hours for that, and then keep something that you don't know, something that you're going to be guessing at for the end. Audit and law, I did self-study again, and I don't even feel that there is a need for lectures for audit. For law, yes, there might be, because there are certain very confusing sections. But for audit, I mean, if you've done audit in your articleship and you know how the practical way works, There's not much need. Anyway, you just have to rectify it, right? So why do you need a professor for that? You can make mnemonics yourself or make the markings yourself. So I studied from the ICI study material. I see that a lot of people don't study from in there, and I think this is a major mistake because they ask questions from in there. Their suggested answers that they give to the examiners for checking the papers are from in there. So why would you not study from the ICI study material? It's not a bad study material. I think people get afraid looking at the size of it, but I would 110% recommend you guys to study at least the theory stuff from the ICI study material. Why I say this is, again, because a lot of reference books don't cover the entire syllabus. I have heard of this. I've gone through a lot of other reference material as well, but I did not find anything as good as this one. And what I would suggest you guys to do, if you are studying from the study materials, at least the first reading, don't try to remember anything because anyway you will not. Just try to get a grip over the entire syllabus, what is in there in the book, how is it presented in the book. For theory or for any other subject for that matter, you will need at least 3 to 4 revisions or readings in order to get confidence while writing your papers, in order to get confidence over the subject. So for audit and for law, first reading, I would recommend just try to understand what is in the syllabus, what all things are being covered in your syllabus. The second reading, you try to remember, try to say out the answers without looking at the book. Then you start marking what you're going to be writing in the paper. So again, this is very simple. I mean, so for audit, let me give an example. There's a chapter on audit of insurance companies, wherein they have given how you're supposed to audit each line item of the balance sheet or of the P&L. So, for example, if it is about premium, they have given 15 to 17 odd points that you should audit when you're auditing premium. Now we know that for audit and for law, the maximum amount of marks that a question carries is just 4 to 6 marks. So you're not supposed to be writing more than 4 to 6 points for any answer. So there's no point studying all of those 15 to 17 points. I mean, you just have to write 4 or 6. So you just have to remember 4, 6, or 7 to be safe. But you don't need to remember all of what is written in there. There are these big paragraphs that, I mean, I used to find really scary. So I just kept reading that. I read that only from the point of view of MCQ, because that can be asked. But when you're writing, you just have to write the smallest points. I mean, that is most beneficial for you. The smallest points and the easiest to remember, what you will always remember when doing an audit. So this was about audit and law. Yes, you will not remember each and every word of what is written in the book. Obviously, that is humanly impossible. But what you can do is try to remember the keywords and the phrases that are being used. So if you do remember them and if you do write them in your paper, and the examiner sees that, okay, this matches somewhat with the suggested answers that have been given, they will find that you have read the syllabus, you know the answers, and you'll of course get better marks for that. Now there's this myth about audit also, that you don't get marks for questions regarding essays, or in general audit they don't give marks. That is not the case. They give sufficient marks if you're writing. I mean, if you write 5 pages of something that is not even related to the question, you cannot expect to get marks for that. But if you write only 2 sides, what I did, I wrote 2 sides only for a 4 or 6 mark question, and you get good marks. I mean, if you want proof, you can check out Shubham Keswani's, he has done this analysis of his certified copies. I referred that as well. And you'll see that they do give marks. And you can, that is really helpful. I found that really helpful, a booster to my confidence, because I was also in the mindset that, okay, these examiners don't give us marks. But when you see his answer papers, the way he's presented them, you'll find out that, okay, it's not impossible to not, I mean, they do give marks. Okay, and I know that a lot of people think that drawing those lines at the end of the pages and all of that presentation looks better, but I did not do any of that. That is frankly a waste of time. I mean, you, now that you're 20, 21, 22, you will know to write within the margin. You don't need to draw lines with scales for that. Okay. So that I think covers audit. Yeah. So do remember the section numbers in law. Not all of them, but there are a few important ones. If you study the syllabus, you will know that okay, this is being asked frequently, and this is a clearly important topic. So do remember section numbers. Those will give you extra points. Do remember the name of the essay and the number of the essay that you're going to be using in your answer. Do study essays because these are being increasingly asked in the papers. A lot of weightage to essays. What happened is I did not find a proper reference book for essays, so I had to do a lot of mehnat for that. I referred 3 to 4 PDFs and whatnot. So try to find a book that covers the essays properly, the type of questions that are being asked. Okay. And for MCQs, what you guys can do is you don't have to do anything separately for MCQs. If you studied the book, you will know the answers. But there is this ICICA case study booklet and MCQ booklet. It is on their website, and I think you can get the hard copy as well. So if you solve that, I would recommend solving that at least twice. The first time that you solve, mark the answers that you've gotten wrong and try to solve it again the next time so that you remember it better. Even if you don't solve it again the second time, at least look at the answers that you had gotten wrong. This will help you to remember it better in MCQ. So MCQ also the same thing happened. We had the same studies from the booklet. The same one was picked up from the booklet and put in a question paper. And I had gotten the answers wrong when I was trying to solve it in the booklet, but I remembered the answer and then I marked it. So I'm assuming I got it right because it was the answer suggested in the paper. So moving on to group two, strategic cost management and performance evaluation. Everybody is terrified of this paper because this costing, which is supposed to be a practical subject, has now been converted into theory and full-fledged theory. So even I was terrified about it because what happens is I think the mark sheet of the top 3 rankers is they put it on, you can get it on Google. And I saw that even these guys had not scored a lot of marks in SCMP. They had it in their 50s or something like that. So I was really worried that at that point I was not even aiming for a rank. I was like मुझे तो बस pass होना है. So I thought कि अगर rankers को भी नहीं आ रहा है तो मुझे कैसे आएगा यार. So really worried for this paper. But then I found the Guru Mantra is to study from the modules. Again, I did not do classes for this one. I had referred Paduka and the modules. Paduka I had bought back in 2019, and at that point of time, the paper was still a practical one. So Paduka covered a lot of practical sums. So my practical was taken care of, but then I realized that okay, now this has become more of a case study and theory paper. So I had to study from the module. And so the modules, there are 2 modules that cover the syllabus properly, and there's this another module just for case studies, and plus they have this case study booklet as well. So you just have to, if you're studying from the modules, and you just have to study the theory part of it. There are a lot of sums and a lot of examples. Reading those will help you know how you're supposed to present your answer. And reading the case study booklets as well, you will find out how the ICI examiner will expect you to present your answer, the way your ideas are supposed to flow in the answer. So I think the first question number 1, is a purely case study based question wherein you it will be a 20 marks question where you've been given this entire data set, and then you're supposed to find out the answers. So I mean, for example, if the question is about Kaizen costing or about 5S or TPM or TQM, so what you're supposed to study from the module is just the introduction part of it, and plus the part that will help you analyze that, okay, this problem relates to TPM or TQM, and I need to write answer based on this. So what you're supposed to remember from the study material is just introduction on the and explaining the concept, how it works. After that, all of the data is already in the question paper. You just have to take the relevant data, have to explain your answers well and properly, and your ideas should flow in a proper manner. What you can do for this is Like I said, go through all the case study booklets and case scenarios that have been given in the material, and at least for 2 or 3 case studies, 20-mark case studies, write those down, practice those without looking at the solution. By doing this, you will be able to find out the difference between how you present your answer and how the suggested answer is, and you'll get a little bit more confidence in solving this, because if you solve a case study for the first time when you're writing a paper, you will be I expected myself to be completely blanked out. You will not know where to begin, where to end, how to conclude. So the ideal way would be to solve all of that at least twice or thrice, 2 or 3 case studies. You don't have to solve all of that. Again, in the study material, what they've given is for each case study that they have solved, they have given about 2 or 3 sides of the solution. Now, 2 or 3 sides of a printed solution means when you're writing it, it is 8 or 10 pages. Okay, we are not supposed to write that much in our exam. For a 10-mark question, the maximum you're supposed to cover is 4 or 5 sides. So they give a lot of information, they give a lot of solution, but that is just for your reference, for your betterment. You're not supposed to. I think they give a disclaimer at the end also that students are not expected to write so much. This is only for your increasing your intellectual capacity and how you're supposed to think. For transfer pricing and practical sums like that, again, I would recommend solving those by hand. Transfer pricing was one of my weak spots. So the more you solve, the better practice you will get, and the more confident you'll be on how you're supposed to solve it in the paper. Since it was Paduka for me for SCMP, again, I'd marked sums ABC, which helped me to revise it better, to just focus on what is important, and or maybe even what are my weak spots. Okay, so this was about costing. Moving on to elective, I think one of the questions, the major question is which elective should I go for? There are 6 options and you're supposed to choose one out of them. But honestly, it completely depends on you. Why I say is because so I will take my example. I was told that economic laws is very easy, and it's pretty simple, and a lot of it is already covered in paper 4. But I know I'm not good at law. I'm not even interested in law. I barely did my law paper with a lot of dil pe patthar rakhe. So I knew that economic laws is not beneficial for me. I went for risk management. Very patli book, very easy concept. And I had done a lot of those concepts practically in my articleship as well. But what happened is because of this patli book, a lot of students took risk management over a period of about 1 or 2 years. And then for some reason, ICAI decided that we don't want all students to be taking risk management. So they started giving extremely tough papers for risk management. Even our paper was super tough. It is an open book paper, okay? 4 hours of open book paper, 40 marks of MCQs in there. But I could not find the answers in my books. I had read the book about 8 to 10 times, but those were either completely different concepts or something that I have, maybe my preparation wasn't that good, but I was completely blanked out during the paper because I did not know what to write. So I fake code it again. But risk management is a subject where you can fake code, because they give this entire case scenario and then they'll be like, okay, tell us what are the risks involved in this situation. So you can generally fake code. What I would suggest, so risk management is good if you're prepared for the paper. Economic laws is also good, but I think the paper is generally a bit lengthier as compared to others. Capital markets is also good. One of my friends took it and she said that she had a really good paper. A lot of times I've heard this, that international taxation, you should take international taxation because the next paper is DT, which involves 30 marks of international tax. So it will be beneficial for you, X, Y, Z. But I did not go by that because I tried to look at the syllabus first. I opened up the PDF of the first or second chapter on the BOS study portal, and the single chapter was for 100 pages. I did not even go beyond that. I mean, I thought कि risk management की book ही 100 pages की है, so I did not go for international taxation. I've not even heard really of anybody who's gone for international taxation. So make your choice wisely. Know what you're good at, know what you're good at presenting, and then go for it. Moving on to the seventh paper, direct taxes. I took lectures for this because DT is so vast that I don't think I could have covered it through self-study. So I took the lectures of Professor Bhavar Burana. Again, he is also very good, explains the concepts really well, and keeps us updated with all the latest case laws and amendments that we're supposed to study for our exams. He gives, along with other study material, he gives us this compact book wherein the compact book is a summary of everything in all the sections in law. So this book is really good because it is next to impossible to cover the entire syllabus of DT in 1.5 days. I mean, it is just too vast. Compact is something that helped me do it. The way the entire syllabus has been covered and presented in those books is just truly amazing. And plus, he has done this really good thing. He has covered every different chapter with a different color. So if you've read it 3 or 4 times, by the end of it, you'll know, okay, this color is this chapter. So you don't even need to go to the index. You can directly open up the chapter looking at the color. Okay. So he's really good. He also gave us, DT also has 30 marks of MCQs. So he gave us good practice for MCQs. I had also referred the MCQ case study booklet that is available on the website and again in hard copy as well. So the level of MCQs that are being asked in the paper is fairly similar to what is there in the booklet. In our case, I think those the questions that were asked in the exam were easier, very simple questions. Again, for DT, there if you analyze the papers properly, you will see that there are a few topics that are being asked every single time. So you know that you're supposed to study these really well. 10 or 12 mark questions every single time, the same concept, the same way of asking the papers, asking the questions, and it's really easy if you studied it. Okay. 30 marks for international taxation. I think again, Bhavar Burana has really covered it all. But I had again also referred the ICI modules to find out if something had been left out by mistake inadvertently, and I did find a few sections that were left out, but overall he's a really good professor. DT also, if you've looked at the syllabus of DT, or in general, you know that the direct taxes involve you guys remembering a lot of tax rates. So TDS itself has so many tax rates. So what I would recommend and what I did was revise those again every week, at least once, so that you get a better grip over the tax rates and you're not left getting confused in the paper. Okay. Moving on, IDT, the last paper. Again, I did self-study for this one. It is a fairly easy subject, I would say. There's not a lot of complication involved in this. I studied from the ICI study material. There are 4 modules. The last one is related to customs law, which I think carries 25 marks. Okay. And the first module, which is really fat, is the same as what is being taught to us in CA intermediate. Okay. And again, I would recommend you guys studying from the modules because I studied from in there, and I know when we look at the modules, they are really fat, but they are fat. Why? Because what they've done is first they've given us the bare act. After that, they've explained it. And after that, they've given the summary again. So you're not supposed to read everything and anything. They've covered really basic things about like what is sale, what is barter. I mean, we know that we're not going to be asked this in the paper. So we don't even have to study it that much to write it in the paper. So for IDT, can be done by self-study, but if you're taking professors, make sure everything has been covered. There's an MCQ booklet for this one as well. do for that, the kind of questions is that is being asked in the papers is somewhat like those. Do not leave behind. In the third module, there are a lot of miscellaneous kind of chapters. Don't leave behind those, because if they're not asked as a full 4-mark question, they'll be asked as 1 or 2 marks for MCQs. And it is really easy. You just have to go through them and you can get a better grip over the topics. So this was about my subject-wise strategy. I'll give you a few general pointers, okay? Don't leave anything in option. I mean, don't even think about doing it, because anyway, there is always going to be something in the paper that we will not know the answer to. So leaving something in option is just an unnecessary risk. Revise everything at least thrice or 4 times, more if for the subjects that you're weaker at. Okay. If your medium of answering the questions is in English, try to improve your English, the way you write the answers, and your grammar, because that also I think plays a major role in trying to get marks. Okay. If you need to look at I have not ordered my certified copies, but if you do need to look at the certified copies of a ranker, Shubham Keswani has put them up. I think a lot of other people might have also put them up on YouTube. Go through them. Those are really helpful in order for you to find out how you're supposed to present them, where they have lost marks, where it could be that you are losing marks, or where you are not doing great at presenting your answers. Okay. There is this another tip that I got from a professor. So if whatever pen that you're using, first of all, get used to that pen, or don't take a completely new pen in your paper. And how do I explain this? Whatever pen that you're going to write your paper from, write at least 1 page beforehand, because when a pen is completely new, it's a little weird, and after a certain point it becomes better and smoother and easier to write with. So every single paper, take a new pen, but write at least about a 1 page's worth. Okay. Solve all the MTPs, RTPs that you can get a hold of, except for DT, because DT, you get a new budget every single year. So if you go looking at papers from 2 years ago, there will be a lot of change in the syllabus, and then you'll just get unnecessarily confused. So solve all the MTPs, RTPs, at least past 3 or 4 attempts ke question papers, and at least 2 papers write as if you're like a mock test series, like you're writing it by hand for a proper sit at a place for 3 hours. The rest you can just do it quickly on rough. Okay. Do keep a track of time when you're solving papers. Even I couldn't finish off my papers. I could not write the entire 100-mark paper for a lot of subjects. So, but what you should aim to do is write the answers that you know the best first, and then leave off the others. So even if you are not able to complete those, that's okay, because anyway you were going to get lesser marks in those answers. Okay. Get good sleep. Focus on your health, because if you fall sick at the time of exams, it is really I mean, I cannot stress this enough. Take good care of your health. Okay. फोन से सच में दूर रहो. मैंने भी Instagram डिसेबल कर लिया था. फोन इज एक्चुअली रियली, आई मीन थोड़ा 15-20 मिनट के लिए टाइम पास कर लो. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द लास्ट 3 months ऑफ फुल प्रिपरेशन. उसके पहले यू गाइस कैन चिल, but last 3 months में focus on your studies. Don't spend too much time on Netflix and whatnot. Okay. Don't have this aim in your mind that you have to clear it in the first attempt, because if you go, if you keep the mindset कि अच्छा ठीक है first time में सिर्फ first group होगा तो चलेगा, अगला attempt देख लेंगे XYZ, you're missing out on 6 months of time, and we do not have that much time if we want a really good career. Okay. So एक बार करो, अच्छे से करो, सही से करो, ताकि अगली बार ना करना पड़े. Okay. My sole motivation when I was studying is मुझे ये वापस नहीं पढ़ना है. I'm being very frank. I did not want to study all of that again. And plus, when you give the next attempt and you have to keep track of amendments, it becomes really tough, because I mean, I'm telling you that this was my sole motivation. मुझे ये वापस नहीं पढ़ना है. GMCS ITT जो है, all of that, try to finish it as early as possible. Don't keep it pending, because you will need to have done those in order to sit for your exam. So बाद में time waste करने से अच्छा पहले ही कर लो when you're anyway not studying really properly. And yes, go through the previous papers, try to understand the pattern of questions and what way they're asking the questions. You will, if you've gone through about 6 or 7 papers, you will get a grip on what kind of questions they're asking. They'll for 4 or 6 marks, they generally ask something जिसके answer में there are 4 or 6 pointers. So those kind of questions, you know that this can be asked. So study that better. I think that was it from my side. Hope I have answered a lot of your questions. If you guys have any more questions, please put those in the chat box. Let's look at Aditya's question. Why should one do CA? Because well, commerce में तो मुझे why I did CA because commerce में मुझे यही दिखा which would get me good money after completing it. And plus CA is something that opens up the door to a lot of job opportunities. So after you've done CA, you can either work at a CA firm, you can open up your own firm, you can work in the financial services sector, you can work in the finance department of any non-financial services company like an FMCG company or something like that. You can get into teaching. Teaching also pays really good money nowadays if you're a good teacher. So you can get into teaching. So doing CA does open up a lot of options as compared to other professional degrees, I would say. Okay, what types of jobs? I think that has covered it. Are tuitions required? Like I said, I do not believe that we need tuitions or classes for all of the subjects. At least try to read all your subjects first. Try to understand if you even need lectures for that. For audit, you don't even need classes. If you know the subject well, if you're strong at the subject. And plus, a lot of professors upload their certain lectures on YouTube. So the tough topics, if they're getting covered with that, you don't even need to pay for your classes. Okay. How to apply for articleship? Well, you do research on the kind of firm you want to work for. Firms generally, I think all of the firms have their own website wherein they will state the kind of services that they offer. So you will know what kind of exposure you will be getting. Try talking to someone who's already done their articleship from that firm to find out what goes on in that firm. And then you can approach the HR of that articleship firm. So that's not a big deal. What if we are unable to clear, and then what should we do? Okay, so this question, I will tell you what mindset I had is when I started off with CA, I was told by a lot of people that it is next to impossible to clear it in the first attempt, and then you will keep giving attempts and whatnot. So what I did is I had decided that the maximum number of times I'm going to give a particular exam is twice. So I will give only 2 attempts. Even after that, if I'm not being able to clear the exam. So this I had decided for intermediate. Okay. Once you've done your intermediate and your articleship, for final, obviously you can give more number of attempts, but it is really brave and courageous of people when they give multiple attempts, keep on giving attempts. But I had the thought that CA is not everything there is to life. I can do something else also. I can get good satisfaction from trying to do something else. CA is not my life goal. I've heard a lot of people say that it's not my life goal. I know there are other things to life. If you're really unable to clear after 4 or 5 attempts, I would suggest you look at alternative degrees. There's CFA, there's CS, there are study according to the job that you want. Okay, so nowadays what is happening is there are a lot of courses on upgrad and something like that, because even I'm looking to do something like that that will give more of on the job knowledge rather than just an academic curriculum. So maybe you can try that. Hope I answered your questions, Aditya. Do we have any more questions?
Perfect. So if anyone has any questions, please feel
Yeah.
free to drop it in the chat. We'll just wait for a minute or two.
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this lovely session. It was a privilege having you with us. I deeply, deeply thank you for so generously agreeing and willing to be a part of our initiative. Your contribution here will always be remembered by Kanch and the various young girls